Let's understand the packaged April Shower Thoughts calendar and rate it for different styles of play. Open the packaged April Shower Thoughts calendar to get the April Shower Thoughts Shield, an untradeable offhand shield. Wearing the April Shower Thoughts Shield reduces damage by 6, adds 10 to all attributes, 25 each to maximum hit and mana points, and enhances the effects of 18 class skills, 3 for each class. Farming these skills so they can be used in the future by any base character class will be a priority to get the most value from the April Shower Thoughts Shield. First, let's look at the enhanced non-combat skills. The Seal Clubber starting non-combat skill, Seal Clubbing Frenzy, usually gives 5 adventures of the effect Seal Clubbing Frenzy for an additional 2 muscle at the cost of 1 mana point. If you wear the April Shower Thoughts Shield when you cast Seal Clubbing Frenzy, you will also receive 5 adventures of the effect Slippery as a Seal for an additional 50% combat initiative and 10 Moxie. An additional 50% combat initiative is useful for several council quests, such as Undefiling the Crypt or the Orc Chasm. The Turtle Tamer starting non-combat skill Patience of the Tortoise usually gives 5 adventures of the effect Patience of the Tortoise for an additional 3 maximum hit points and 1 muscle at the cost of 1 mana point. If you wear the shield when you cast Patience of the Tortoise, you will also receive 5 adventures of the effect Strength of the Tortoise for an additional 10 muscle and to regenerate between 10 and 20 mana points per adventure. Strength of the Tortoise is a cheap skill to keep active if you find yourself running out of mana points while adventuring. The Turtle Tamer level 8 non-combat skill, Empathy of the Newt, usually gives the effect Empathy for an additional 5 familiar weight at a cost of 15 mana points. The adventure duration depends on the best turtle totem in your inventory. 3 turtle totems can be used by any class. The basic turtle totem for a 5 adventure duration, Ouija board for a 7 adventure duration, and the expensive and rare primitive turtle totem for a 30 adventure duration. If you wear the shield when you cast Empathy of the Newt, you will not receive the effect Empathy at all. Instead, you will receive the effect Thoughtful Empathy for an additional 8 familiar weight. This allows you to receive both effects for a total of 13 additional familiar weight. Note that the effect Empathy can be shrugged off, but the skill Thoughtful Empathy cannot. You must use a soft green Echo Eyedrop antidote to remove the Thoughtful Empathy effect. The Pastamancer starting non-combat skill Manicotti Meditation usually gives 5 adventures of the effect Pasta Oneness for an additional 2 Mysticality at a cost of 1 mana point. If you wear the shield when you cast Manicotti Meditation, you will also receive 5 adventures of the effect Tubes of Universal Meat for an additional 30% meat from monsters and 10 Mysticality. This is a great effect to keep active for more meat since the mana cost is so low. The Pastamancer level 3 skill Lasagna Bandages usually can be cast outside of combat to heal between 10 and 30 hit points at the cost of 6 mana points. If you wear the shield when you cast Lasagna Bandages outside of combat, you will instead heal between 20 and 60 hit points or twice as much. The Pastamancer level 11 non-combat skill Leash of Linguini usually gives 10 adventures of the effect Leash of Linguini for an additional 5 familiar weight at a cost of 12 mana points. If you wear the shield when you cast Leash of Linguini, you will instead receive 15 adventures of the effect, or 50% more. The Sorcerer starting non-combat skill Sauce Contemplation usually gives 5 adventures of the effect Sauce Mastery for an additional 3 maximum hit points and 1 Mysticality at the cost of 1 mana point. If you wear the shield when you cast Sauce Contemplation, you will also receive 5 adventures of the effect Lubricating Sauce for an additional 15% item drops from monsters and 10 Moxie. This is another great effect to keep active because of the low mana cost. The Sorcerer starting non-combat skill Simmer usually gives 10 adventures of the effect Simmering for an additional 100% spell damage and to regenerate between 8 and 10 mana points per adventure at the cost of 1 adventure. If you wear the shield when you cast Simmer, the cast will not cost an adventure the first time each day. After the first cast of Simmer each day, wearing the shield has no effect. A free cast of the skill Simmer is particularly useful for the Special Challenge Path Community Services spell damage test, but can be useful in any situation where you need harder-hitting combat spells. Let's wrap up with the improved Moxie class skills. The Disco Bandit starting non-combat skill Disco Aerobics usually gives 5 adventures of the effect Disco State of Mind for an additional 2 Moxie at the cost of 1 mana point. If you wear the shield when you cast Disco Aerobics, you will also receive 5 adventures of the effect Disco Over Matter for an additional 10 muscle and to regenerate between 20 and 30 hit points per adventure. Disco Over Matter is a cheap skill to keep active if you find yourself running out of hit points while adventuring. The Disco Bandit level 3 non-combat skill Disco Nap usually heals 20 hit points and removes some negative status effects, such as Embarrassed, at the cost of 8 mana points. If you also have the passive skill Adventurer of Leisure, casting Disco Nap usually heals 40 hit points and removes even more negative status effects, such as Majorly Poisoned. If you wear the shield when you cast Disco Nap, you will also gain 20 mana points for the first 5 casts per day. After 5 casts of Disco Nap in a day with the shield, wearing the shield does not add to Disco Nap. Last but not least, the Accordion Thief starting non-combat skill, Moxie of the Mariachi, usually gives 5 adventures of the effect Mariachi Mood for an additional 3 maximum hit points and 1 Moxie at the cost of 1 mana point. If you wear the shield when you cast Moxie of the Mariachi, you will also receive 5 adventures of the effect Mariachi Moisture for an additional 10% chance of a critical hit and 10 mysticality. Mariachi Moisture is another great effect to keep active because of the low mana point cost. Now let's look at the enhanced combat skills. The Seal Clubber level 10 combat skill Lunging Thrust Smack usually triples base weapon damage, and for Seal Clubbers, bonus weapon damage as well, at a cost of 8 mana points. If you wear the shield when you cast Lunging Thrust Smack, the skill will also stagger your opponent during the first cast of each fight. There's no benefit for subsequent casts of Lunging Thrust Smack in the same combat. The Seal Clubber level 13 combat skill Northern Explosion usually triples base weapon damage, and for Seal Clubbers, bonus weapon damage as well, and converts it all to cold damage at a cost of 16 mana points. If you wear the shield when you cast Northern Explosion, it will force all of your opponent's non-conditional items to drop and win the fight for the first cast each day. Unlike Yellow Ray skills with a similar outcome, you do not receive the cooldown effect, Everything Looks Yellow. This makes it an excellent choice if there are 2 monsters whose drops you need to force in the same zone or otherwise close together while adventuring. Wearing the shield has no effect for further casts of Northern Explosion in the same day. The Turtle Tamer level 10 combat skill Shieldbutt usually does an amount of damage proportional to the shield's power and any active turtle blessing at a cost of 10 mana points. If you wear the shield while casting Shieldbutt, you will also receive 5 adventures of a random beneficial effect once out of every 5 casts. This can be a fun chance at powerful effects to help complete council quests faster. The Pastamancer level 3 skill Lasagna Bandages usually heals between 10 and 20 hit points when cast in combat, or between 20 and 40 hit points on a critical hit, at a cost of 6 mana points. If you wear the shield while casting Lasagna Bandages in combat, twice as many hit points will be healed. The Sorcerer level 7 combat skill Wave of Sauce usually causes between 45 and 100 hot damage and delevels your enemy's defense between 8 and 10 at a cost of 10 mana points. If you wear the shield while casting Wave of Sauce, enemy defense will instead be lowered between 20 and 24 or 150% more. Let's wrap up with the improved Moxie class skills. The Disco Bandit level 14 passive skill Sensitive Fingers, which enhances the starting combat skill Pickpocket, usually gives an additional 10% chance of a pickpocket attempt succeeding. If you wear the shield while using Pickpocket and have the skill Sensitive Fingers, the chance of a successful pickpocket improves further. Likewise, the Accordion Thief level 11 passive skill Sticky Fingers, which enhances the starting combat skill Pickpocket, usually gives between 4 and 30 meat if an item is successfully pickpocketed. If you wear the shield while using Pickpocket and have the skill Sticky Fingers, you will receive roughly 30% more meat. Last but not least, the Accordion Thief level 4 combat skill Accordion Bash can only be cast when you have an accordion equipped. Accordion Bash usually stuns opponents for 3 or more rounds depending on which accordion you're using. If you wear the shield while using Accordion Bash and a one-handed accordion, your opponent will be stunned for an additional 2 rounds of combat. Depending on other offhand equipment you have available, the April Shower Thoughts shield may not be your best choice despite the enhanced combat skills. The exception is the one daily cast of Northern Explosion to win the fight and force all of your opponent's non-conditional items to drop. Being able to get the effect of a yellow ray without the cooldown period is powerful for any player. While the main benefits of the April Shower Thoughts shield lie in the improved non-combat skills, it also offers the option to shower once per day to gain globs of wet paper. Ascending allows you to shower a second time in a day. Initial spading indicates that the first 2 days of an ascension will always give 3 globs per day, while subsequent days may give between 1 and 4 globs, anecdotally weighted towards an outcome of 2 globs per day. Why would you want globs of wet paper? Follow the Think link to see all the items that can be purchased with globs. The first 2 offerings are tradable combat items. The Spitball costs 1 glob and can be used in combat to win the fight and force your opponent's items to drop, giving 100 adventures of the effect Everything Looks Yellow. Other yellow rays in Standard include the combat item Military Orb from this past Crimbo with a cooldown of 50 adventures, same as the familiar Emberiza Aureola's combat skill Go Down in Flames. The Mr. Store Roman Candelabra's combat skill, Blow the Yellow Candle, has a cooldown of 75 adventures. Any of these would be a better choice than the Spitball. The Paper Mach 1 airplane costs 2 globs and can be used in combat to gain 25 adventures of the unwishable effect Echoes of Wetness. Echoes of Wetness stuns opponents on the first round of combat, but only in the zone where the airplane was used. The airplane's stun is weirdly limited, especially compared to recent Mr. Store items, such as the Toy Cupid Bow, that can stun multiple times in the same combat across all zones. The next 2 tradable items may add to your diet. 3 Sheets to the Wind costs 3 globs and is a size 1 awesome quality booze that can be drunk to get 1 adventure of the unwishable effect Wetted Whistle for an additional 10 adventures at rollover. Pile of Wet Dates also costs 3 globs and is a size 1 awesome quality food that can be eaten to get 1 adventure of the unwishable effect A Date with Tomorrow for an additional 10 adventures at rollover. Since each effect's duration is only 1 adventure, they will disappear if you use any adventures or PvP fights. You'll need to plan ahead if you want to take advantage of the additional rollover adventures from either the food or drink. The tradable wet blanket costs 11 globs and can be installed in your campsite's dwelling. Just like other furniture, it disappears when you either ascend or change dwellings. Once installed, the wet blanket gives 20 substats each for muscle, mysticality, and moxie when resting, including free rests. The wet blanket cannot be used and has no effect on Mr. Store alternate dwellings, Chateau Mantegna, and Getaway Campsite. Since it takes a minimum of 4 days to accumulate enough globs to purchase the wet blanket, it's only useful if you know you will not ascend for a while. The next 3 tradable potions each cost 2 globs. Using the wet paper cup gives 20 adventures of the effect In Your Cups to add 15 moxie and 20% to moxie gains. Using the wet paper weight gives 20 adventures of the effect Lifting Wets to add 15 muscle and 20% to muscle gains. And using the wet paperback gives 20 adventures of the effect Moisticality to add 15 mysticality and 20% to mysticality gains. You can use a pocket wish for In Your Cups, but it gives a different effect. A pocket wish grants lifting wets correctly, while moisticality cannot be wished for at all. Moxie and mysticality classes can choose to use the potion matching their main stat to help gain levels faster, while muscle classes can choose between using the potion or a pocket wish to get the same effect. The next 5 purchasable items are all equipment for your character. The Wet Shower Radio is an untradeable accessory that costs 1 glob, disappears at the end of the day, and adds 25% to item drops from monsters. Those with Clan VIP access should instead choose the oversized monocle on a stick, an offhand item, which also disappears at the end of the day, but gives both an additional 25% item drops from monsters and 25% mysticality. The tradable Wet Shower Curtain costs 7 globs and is a back item that reduces hot damage by 100,000 when worn. This means that wearing the Wet Shower Curtain reduces any source of hot damage to 1, including environmental hot damage from that 70s volcano's bubbling caldera zone, fighting hot elemental monsters such as Burning Daughter, eating food with Old Scratch's salad fork, or after combat hot damage from consuming Gets You Drunk. Wearing the wet shower curtain makes anything in the kingdom that causes hot damage much more accessible. The next three tradable equipment items form the wet wear outfit, which adds so-so hot resistance and gives a tattoo when worn for the pretentious artist. Each outfit piece can be zapped into the others, so if you are patient, you can buy 3 wet shower caps and zap until the outfit is complete. The wet shower cap costs 10 globs and is a Power 50 hat that adds serious hot resistance when worn. Wet shower shoes are an accessory that costs 15 globs and add 10 cold damage when worn. Wet shower shorts are Power 50 pants that cost 20 globs and add 20 damage to cold spells. Trick-or-treating in the wet wear outfit gives you the potion Jaw Wetter, which when used gives 10 adventures of the effect Wet Jaw for slight hot resistance, +1. None of the enchantments are particularly strong, so most players will only be interested in the outfit tattoo. The final 2 tradable items are appropriately labeled long-term goals since each costs 1,000 globs to purchase. Someone who continuously loops 2-day ascensions, collecting 6 globs per day, could purchase both items after 1 year. Most of us will wait much longer if we purchase them at all. The Wet Paper Tiger is a familiar hatchling for the Wet Paper Tiger. The Wet Paper Tiger both attacks and delevels enemies in combat, and its familiar equipment is the Wet Paper Eye for an additional 15 familiar weight. The much easier to obtain Autonomous Disco Ball familiar also attacks and delevels enemies. The Wet Shower Stamp gives a shower head tattoo. Only collectors will persevere in obtaining these 2 items. So how does the packaged April Shower Thoughts Calendar measure up? Many of the enhanced class non-combat skills make adventuring easier, though wearing the April Shower Thoughts shield does not provide any quick links, hints, or reminders to find and use the appropriate skills, assuming you have the skills permed and available in the first place. Only players who automate with Coal Mafia will be able to consistently take advantage of the new or improved effects. 1 free yellow ray per day from wearing the shield and casting Northern Explosion is undoubtedly useful, but once again hard to remember and use. Most of the items purchased with globs are underwhelming. The 3 exceptions are the food and drink that grant rollover adventures, and the wet shower curtain for hot protection. I rate the April Shower Thoughts Shield 2 out of 5 stars for quality of life. Item and meat farmers will enjoy the low mana cost improvements to item and meat drops from monsters, along with hit and mana point regeneration and a higher chance of critical hits. I rate the shield 3 out of 5 stars for farming. Several of the enhanced non-combat skills improve scores on PvP minigames, such as showing initiative for highest combat initiative or meat lover for meat drop bonus. I rate the April Shower Thoughts Shield 2 out of 5 stars for PvP. Folks who plan out their run to save every adventure will appreciate the improved class skills and small savings from items purchased with globs of wet paper. I rate the shield 3 out of 5 stars for speedruns. I hope this helps you decide if you should pick one up.